Now, moving on to the growing delays facing Australia's... I mean, we've got so many topics tonight that are ridiculous. Australia's energy rollout, a key $4 billion transmission project, and I've written about this before. It's going to connect Victoria and New South Wales. It's called the VNI West interconnector. It's needed because of all this green energy we're going to produce can't be pumped into the current transmission systems, so they have to build a new one. It's now been pushed back 2 years, not due until late 2030. Well, what do you think that's going to do to the Albanese government's pledge to double renewables in the grid by the end of the decade? I mean, farmers don't want it. I've interviewed them over and over again. They're locking their gates. They don't want these transmission towers on their property. You've got a lack of community buy-in. The whole thing's running off the track. Of course, it follows news now that Australia's largest hydrogen project at Gladstone in Queensland has just been canned. Joining me to discuss this is the Associate Editor of the Australian, Graham Lloyd. Graham, welcome. On to VNI West first. This is a crucial piece of infrastructure to have any of what Chris Bowen and Anthony Albanese want to do work, connecting the two biggest states in the country.
That's right, Steve. Good evening. Well, it's a project that is vital to connect Victoria to New South Wales so that when Victoria closes down its coal-fired power, it can bring supplies in from New South Wales when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. Without it, they're in a real fix. But it should be no surprise to anybody. We've seen the delays in all large infrastructure projects that are undertaken as part of this energy transition. Think of Snowy Hydro 2.0. And all the interconnectors are facing the same challenge. Neighbourhoods don't want them. There's no clear negotiating path to find out the routes that they will travel, and that's before you come to the cost of putting them in place, as the cost of all the materials goes through the roof. So it's another reminder that it's a lot easier to put these things down on paper than it is to actually produce them in reality.
Well, VNI's, it's reviewed a couple of maps and I think they've settled on one route, but it's being ploughed through things like state forests and national parks, so the greenies are all up in arms and saying, we don't want it, the farmers don't want it. There's going to be a standoff, and all the time these deadlines for net zero keep coming and coming and coming, and you even saw, of course, Chris Bowen this week have to admit and put his hand up that he needs to now have an inquiry of all things into gas supplies, because he's now admitted that, yeah, we're going to run out of gas. And so he wants a reservation policy, which was the policy of the coalition government during the election that he laughed at.
That's right, and what we're seeing is the only sure thing that works is closing stuff down. So the coal generation is on track to exit the system because it's been run down over many years, but the stuff that's supposed to replace it just isn't coming on board. And you'd have to say that the 2-year delay for this transmission project is probably optimistic. And then we have to get to the cost at the end of the day and how that is going to be recovered by people who are forced to use it. So there's a big mess across the whole planning sphere when it comes to linking up these renewable energy zones and actually enabling them to put electricity into the market.
Every day we wake up, Graham, another project's been cancelled or delayed. You've now got this outfit, Blue Float Energy. I think they're a Spanish company. They had their hand up to build offshore wind off the Gippsland coast. And they've just said, well, we consider its future in Australia is not very good, so we're out of here. So there's another one of the wind farm projects, and this is a mob who got into trouble for people on the south coast of New South Wales didn't want to have anything to do with this thing. That's going to fall over as well unless someone else is prepared to take the risk.
That's right. The biggest story here, Steve, is offshore wind was never economically viable. We're seeing it all around the world where they've been built. They haven't performed to expectations and the costs have been more than expected. They've turned to governments to be bailed out. They're having a look now at the Australian system, and they're finding that the political leverage is maybe not there, the business case certainly isn't there, and all the ancillary needs they have in terms of ports and heavy engineering and workforce doesn't exist either. So they're going to cut their losses, and they're probably in trouble way more than simply Australia.
What's going to happen? I mean, you've been writing about this for years, warning us that it was not going to be as easy as everyone said. Where do we go now?
Well, it's a desperate situation, isn't it, Stephen? I must say I have been looking at it for a long period of time, and I've made myself certainly unpopular in some places for saying this really has got a lot of problems. And I think where we go from here, there has to be something to backstop the system. Now, you can say build new coal plants with high efficiency and compromise on emissions, or you can say let's bring in a lot more gas to backstop the system when the other things are not working. But we're only a short way down the pipeline in terms of building out renewables, and the headaches are a lot bigger than people anticipated.
Absolutely, Graham. Great to catch up. Thank you very much.